The sky above Earth was gray and silent. Dust floated through the air like slow falling snow. Cracked buildings stood like skeletons, empty, broken, forgotten. No birds, no animals, no humans. This was Earth, once the center of power. Now, just ruins. Kyra stepped out of her shuttle and looked around. She was tall, with silver blue skin and eyes that glowed gently in the dark. A Valari scientist. Her people believed in peace, beauty, and knowledge. She had read many things about Earth, but she never thought she would stand on its soil. "Is this really it?" she whispered, looking at the dead city in front of her. The capital was once called New Berlin. Now it was nothing more than collapsed towers and rusted metal. Nature had tried to take it back, but the damage from war was too deep. Kyra's scanner beeped a signal, weak, old, but still active. She followed it, walking through the ruins, her boots crunching broken glass and ash. Her guidebook floated behind her, scanning the air. "Radiation low," the bot said. "Safe to explore." Kyra nodded and walked toward the source of the signal. As she moved deeper into the ruins, she saw strange things, old statues of human soldiers. Massive tanks covered in vines, and broken signs that said, "Remember the resistance." "Why do they always build statues of warriors?" she said aloud. "So primitive." The Valari believed humans were long gone. They were told Earth died 300 years ago, destroyed by its own wars. Kyra was told humans were violent, unstable, and emotional. But something about this place felt different. Finally, she reached the signal's origin. A small tower still stood, surrounded by rubble. It buzzed quietly, pulsing red. A human emergency beacon. "This thing should not be working," Kyra said. "It's ancient tech." She entered the tower. The door groaned as it opened. Inside, there was dust everywhere, but the walls were covered in screens, maps, and old weapons. It was a human command post. Kyra moved to the main terminal. She touched the surface. It flickered to life. The screen showed a message. "Warning, beacon active. Stand by for response." Kyra blinked. Response from whom? Suddenly, the room lights turned on, dim, yellow, and flickering. Kyra stepped back. Her guidebook started to beep. Unknown energy source detected. Movement in lower levels. "What?" Kyra asked, but then she heard a metallic footstep coming. From behind a sealed door. Her heart raced. "Is someone down there?" The guidebook floated toward the sound, but then the door opened. Smoke came out first. Then a tall figure stepped forward, clad in old, scratched human armor. Helmet on. A gun held loosely in one hand. The armor still hummed faintly with energy. Kyra froze. The figure stopped and looked at her. Then, in a deep, rough voice, he spoke. "You're not supposed to be here." Kyra stepped back. You're human?" The figure slowly removed his helmet. His face was pale, unshaven, scarred, but his eyes burned like fire. "I was human," he said, "before everything changed." Kyra's voice trembled. "That's impossible. Humans are extinct." The man chuckled darkly. "Clearly not." Her guidebook scanned him, flashing red. Life form, Terran human. Cryostasis signature detected. Status, active. Kyra couldn't believe it. This human was alive. After 300 years. But how? Why are you still here? The man turned to look at the beacon. Because someone had to be. She watched him walk to the terminal. He pressed a button, and a countdown started. Kyra panicked. "What did you do?" He looked at her calmly. "You triggered the beacon. Now they know." "Who?" "The ones who tried to kill us all." He said, "They're coming back." Kyra's eyes widened. "You mean ... someone else survived?" The man nodded. "Some of us did. But we stayed hidden. Waiting. For what? She whispered Dot. He looked out the window at the gray sky. For the signal. For someone to find us. For war to begin again. Kyra stood frozen. The silence between her and the human felt like a storm about to explode. The man's armor creaked. As he walked slowly across the room, his movements were heavy like someone carrying the weight of centuries. He didn't blink. He didn't smile. "You're Velari," he said, finally breaking the silence. "You shouldn't be here." Kyra nodded slowly. I'm a scientist, just exploring old ruins. I didn't mean to activate anything." He stared at her, unmoved. "You pressed the beacon." "I didn't know what it was," she replied. He scoffed. "That's what they always say. Before the betrayal." Kyra stepped back. "I'm not your enemy." The man's voice grew sharper. "Then why did your people help the Tresh destroy Earth?" Kyra shook her head. "That was hundreds of years ago. The Velari Council denies. Of course they do." He cut her off. "They erase what they fear, rewrite history, hide guilt under peace treaties." He turned and slammed his fist on the console. Dust flew up. "My name is Commander Rian Voss," he said. "Special Forces, Earth Defense Command. Frozen in stasis since year 709A after the evacuation." Kyra's heart raced. He continued. "I was left behind. Not by mistake. On purpose. I volunteered to protect what remained." "Protect what?" she asked. "The last beacon? The final call?" He moved closer, and she finally noticed how tired. His eyes were, not just from war, but from being alone. He hadn't spoken to anyone in centuries. Kyra lowered her voice. "I came here to study the truth. About humans. The stories said you were gone. That your kind... couldn't survive yourselves." Rian gave a bitter smile. "Stories always lie when they're written by survivors." Suddenly, the guide bot beeped again. "Unidentified vessel approaching Earth's orbit," it warned. "Hostile. Configuration detected. Cloaked Tresh Raider class." Rian's eyes narrowed. "They're faster than I expected." Kyra looked up. "Wait, the Tresh? They followed me?" Rian grabbed his rifle from the wall. It was old, but it still worked. "They monitor Velari patrols. You triggered the beacon. They think someone is waking Earth again. They don't want that." Kyra's hands shook. I didn't mean to bring danger." "You didn't bring it," Rian said, checking his gear. "It was always here, watching, waiting." Suddenly, the ground shook. A distant explosion echoed through the ruins. The tower lights flickered. "They're landing troops," Rian muttered. "We have 5 minutes before they surround this place." Kyra panicked. "We have to run." "No," Rian said coldly. "You run. I fight." She looked at him, shocked. "You can't fight them alone." "I've done it before." Kyra grabbed his arm. "You'll die." He paused, looked at her hand. "Probably," he said. "But that's better than being the last human who let Earth fall again." Kyra made a quick decision. "There's an old tunnel beneath this building. My bot mapped. It leads to the lower city." Rian studied her for a moment. "Why would you help me?" She looked straight at him. "Because you shouldn't die alone." He stared at her eyes, scanning for lies. But there were none. Finally, he nodded. Double quotes, "Then follow me. And stay quiet." They moved quickly. Rian opened a hidden door behind the terminal, revealing a dark stairwell going deep underground. As they moved down, the tower above shook again. The Tresh were coming. Minutes later, they entered the underground metro. Lights flickered as Rian activated an old power switch. Kyra looked around. "These tunnels are huge." "This was the escape route for civilians," Rian said. "It was never used. No one made it in time." They passed frozen skeletons still huddled in corners. Kyra lowered her eyes. "I didn't know this part." Of Earth's history, Rian nodded. Nobody does. Because they buried the truth. Suddenly, they heard a sound metal scraping metal. From the shadows came something tall, insect-like, metallic. A Tresh assassin unit. Kira whispered. What is that? Rian raised his gun. That is what killed my squad. The assassin screeched and charged. Rian fired, hitting it in the chest. Sparks flew. The creature roared and slammed into him, throwing both of them into a wall. Kira screamed. Rian's armor held, but just barely. He growled and activated his blade. With a single hard swing, he stabbed the creature through the head. It twitched, then fell silent. Rian stood, breathing hard. Kira rushed over. Are you hurt? Just like old times, he grinned through the pain. Kira stared at him in awe, not as a soldier, but as proof that humans weren't extinct. They were just waiting. Asterisk. The Tresh ship hovered in Earth's orbit black as night, with red lights pulsing like a heartbeat. It was silent, deadly, and alive with weapons. Commander Rian Voss stared at the scanner on his wrist as it blinked faster. They're not just here to destroy, he muttered. They're here to clean the evidence. Kara looked up through a broken glass dome above the tunnel. In the distant sky, flashes of light marked the arrival of more enemy vessels. How many ships? She asked, nervous. Rian tapped the scanner. 3 in orbit. 2 gunships just landed. They're forming a net around the city. Kira swallowed hard. Then we're trapped. No, Rian replied. They are. They moved quickly through. The underground transport system abandoned trains still sat on rusted tracks. Above them, drones buzzed faintly, scanning the area. Rian pulled Kira into an old train station that had turned into a bunker. He activated a dusty terminal. It came, alive with a low hum. What is this place? Kira asked. Welcome to Fort Echo, Rian said with pride. One of Earth's last shadow posts, off the grid, never mapped, hidden from orbit. He walked to a wall panel and entered a code. The floor trembled as a large section shifted open, revealing something massive, a human mech suit, painted black and gold, towering over both of them. Kira gasped. That's beautiful. It's called Valkyrie 11, Rian said. Last of the Titan frames, nuclear core, plasma weapons, AI-assisted targeting. A one-man army. He smiled faintly. And it still listens to me. Kira blinked. But why show me this? Because I need you to help me launch it, he replied. You're the only Villari I've ever met who didn't try to shoot me. She looked surprised. But I'm not a warrior. No, he said, walking toward the power terminal. You're something better, a scientist. You can understand old Earth tech. And I can't run this alone. Kira hesitated, then nodded. What do I do? Before he could answer, alarms screamed through the tunnel. Warning. Hostile breach detected. Sector 3. Warning. Bioscan Tresh. Forces inbound. Kira turned to Rian. They found us. He opened a side panel and tossed her a compact energy pistol. Welcome to war. Moments later, in the station hallway, the air shimmered and 3 Tresh infiltrators uncloaked. They were fast, with long limbs and glowing red eyes. Kira fired instinctively. Her shot hit the wall, missing. Rian leapt forward, armor shielding him from their blades. He slammed one Tresh against the ceiling and shot another straight through the chest. Kira ducked behind cover, heart pounding. Keep low. Rian shouted. They want to capture, not kill yet. One Tresh creature got too close. Kira screamed and fired again this time, hitting it square in the head. It dropped. Her hands trembled. I shot it. You'll live longer if you keep doing that, Rian said. Once the room was clear, Rian returned to the launch chamber. "We're out of time," he said, activating the mech's core. The Valkyrie 11 roared to life. Lights lit up, systems activated. Armor plates shifted into place, like a metal giant awakening from a long sleep. Kyra stared in wonder. "It's alive." "No," Rian said as he climbed inside. "It's angry." Outside the bunker, Shresh ships circled overhead. From orbit, a command drone scanned the battlefield dot inside one of the enemy ships. A Tresh commander watched the hologram of Earth. Its sharp claws tapped on the control panel. Human signal detected. It hissed in its native language. Location: Sector 9. Activating cleansing beam. High above the planet, a cannon on the orbital ship began to power up. Back underground, Rian's voice echoed from the mech. "We have 10 minutes before they glass this area. Kyra, there's one last chance." "What is it?" she asked. "I need you to get to the secondary uplink. There's a satellite left in Earth's orbit. I can't activate it from inside the mech." "What does the satellite do?" He looked at her through the mech's visor. "It sends a message." "To who?" He paused, then said quietly, "To the ones who survived. To the rest of us still hiding in the stars." Kyra's eyes widened. "There are more humans?" Rian nodded. "Scattered, sleeping, forgotten. But if they hear this signal ... they will come." She looked at him for a long second. "I'll do it," she said. "Even if the Valari exile me, I'll do it." He smiled. "You just became part of history." As she ran down the dark tunnel toward the uplink, the walls shook. The cannon in orbit was almost ready, and behind her, the last human warrior stepped out of the bunker, climbing up the ruined streets of Earth in a war machine built for legends. The sky would burn, and the galaxy would remember. Earth again. Asterisk, the ground trembled with each heavy step of the mech. Valkyrie-11 stood like a metal god, 20 feet tall, wrapped in black and gold armor, its eyes glowing blue like twin suns. The earth winds howled around the ancient ruins, but the machine walked through them like a beast from an old story angry. Alive and human. Inside, Commander Rian Voss gripped the controls. His voice echoed through the machine's AI. "Target. Lock active. Plasma systems online. Let's give the stars something to remember." Above him, enemy ships circled the sky like vultures. Red beams flickered from orbit. The Tresh were preparing to erase everything. But Rian wasn't here to run. He was here to wake the galaxy. Far underground. Kira raced through a half-collapsed tunnel, sparks flying from broken wires overhead. She held a data drive glowing green. It was Earth's final signal code, one that hadn't been heard in 300 years. Her boots splashed through water as she reached a rusted blast door. Her guidebot hovered behind her, blinking fast. "Satellite uplink found," it said. "System damaged but functional." Kyra placed the drive in the console. The screen flashed. "Insert authorization code." She hesitated. "I don't have it." But then her wristband linked to Rian's beacon buzzed. A soft voice came through. "Code, Earthfire 7. Kyra typed it in. "Confirmed. Message ready for transmission." She hit send. A signal burst upward, through the tunnels, past the clouds, toward space. In orbit, the Tresh flagship received the signal. The commander growled. "Earth signal detected. Encrypted. Spread unknown. Cancel it." But they were too late. The signal had already jumped to 5 silent satellites. Then 20. Then into the deep web of old human systems still floating across the galaxy. As sleeping were waking up. Back on the surface, Rian faced the first wave of enemy gunships. They screamed, downward firing blue lasers into the ground. "Brace for fire," the AI said. Rian grinned. "Brace them instead." The mech raised its plasma shield, blocking the blasts, then fired back. Twin bolts of white-hot energy smashed into one gunship, blowing it out of the sky. A second ship dove, trying to flank, but Rian spun, locked on, and launched micro-missiles. They hit like thunder. The second ship shattered, raining fire over. The ruins dot from a nearby rooftop. Small Trish soldiers opened fire. Too close. Rian muttered dot. He activated the shockwave system. The mech stomped, and a wave of energy rolled out in all directions, slamming the attackers against walls and sending dust into the air. Kyra's voice came through his comms. Signal is out. It's spreading. Rian's heart pounded. For the first time in 3 centuries, he wasn't alone. But just as hope rose, the sky darkened again. From the clouds descended a Tresh colossus, a massive walker, part living, part machine. Twice the size of Valkyrie 11, blood-red eyes. Its arms were cannons, its voice, cold and alien. You are the last, it said. We are the silence. Rian stared up at it. No, he said. He cracked his neck, and the mech's armor plates shifted tighter. I'm the noise you forgot to kill. The battle was brutal. The Colossus fired an energy beam. Rian dodged, rolling through debris, returning fire with everything the mech had: missiles, plasma, railguns. But the Trush monster kept coming. Kira watched the fight from the uplink tower, helpless. She clenched her fists. He's too small. He can't win. But then she saw it. Rian was smiling dot inside the Valkyrie 11 cockpit. Warnings flashed red. Armor failing. Ammo low. Power dropping. But Rian didn't stop. He whispered, humanity didn't survive by being stronger. We survived by being impossible. He charged straight at the Colossus. The giant roared. They collided like gods. Rian fired a point-blank plasma shot into its chest, then stabbed the last blade into its reactor. Good night, he said. Explosion lit the sky like a second sun. The Colossus fell. Rian's mech dropped to one knee. Damaged, burning, but alive. Silence fell over Earth. The Tresh fleet paused. Something they hadn't expected was happening. Across the stars, human war signals blinked awake dot from distant systems. Old Terran colonies answered dot from asteroid belts. Hidden sleeper ships opened. From secret bases, soldiers who had never stopped. Waiting finally moved dot. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy heard dot. Kira stood beside the mech. Smoke curled from its armor dot. She touched it gently. You did it, she whispered. Rian's tired voice came through. Not yet. This was just Earth dot remembering who we are. The flames still danced in the sky. Smoke curled over the ruins of Earth's old capital. And in the center stood a wounded Titan Valkyrie 11, its armor scorched but unbroken. The Tresh Colossus lay dead beside it, a symbol of failure for the tomb. Enemies of mankind got Kyra stood at the base of the mech, her face lit by the soft flicker of red light. She looked up. Rian, she whispered, are you still alive? The mech's cockpit hissed. The hatch opened slowly, and Commander Rian Voss stepped out, limping, holding his helmet under one arm. Blood ran down his cheek, but his eyes burned. Brighter than ever. He didn't answer her question. He only asked, is the signal still spreading? Kyra nodded. The flame is lit, and it's moving faster than we thought. Far beyond Earth. In the quiet rings of a dead star, a human sleeper ship blinked awake. Inside, a soldier named Major Ellen Ward opened her eyes after 300 years. Earth beacon detected, the AI said. Status, human commander active. Code, Earthfire 7. Ellen sat up. She looked at the stars outside the glass. Commander Voss survived? She whispered. Then the war isn't over. She pressed a button. All around her, cryopods opened. Dozens of soldiers sleeping ghosts dash awakened Dot in a distant mining colony on Nova 6. Children played under blue skies, never knowing Earth Dot until the broadcast came. The town's elder, a quiet man with cybernetic legs, paused as he heard the words, "To all Terrans, the fire still burns. Come home." His hand trembled. Dot, he whispered. To himself, "It's time." Back on Earth, Rian and Kyra stood in the control room of Fort Echo. The beacon glowed behind them. "The Tresh didn't expect this," Kyra said. "They thought Earth was a grave." Rian stared at the map on the screen. Dots were blinking now human signals, some far, some near. "They forgot what happens when you leave a fire burning under ashes," he replied. Kyra smiled. "You were right. They're coming." But then the screen turned red. "Incoming transmission, Valerie." "High Council." Kyra's smile vanished. The face of a stern Valari general appeared. "Agent Kyra, stand down immediately. You are in violation of peaceful protocol. You have activated a human military signal classified as unstable." Kyra stepped forward. "I didn't violate anything. I discovered the truth. The humans were not extinct. They were betrayed. And they remain a threat," the general snapped. "You are ordered to leave Earth now." Rian spoke, stepping beside her. "No," he said coldly. "She stays. This is Earth. We decide who leaves." The general looked at him with disgust. "You are a relic, a dangerous one. If you keep calling your kind back, there will be war." Rian leaned forward, his voice calm. "Then we'll finally get to finish what you started." The screen went black. Dot later that night. Kira sat on the roof of the bunker, watching the stars. She heard footsteps. Rian sat beside her, wrapping a coat around his shoulders. "You know," he said, "I thought I'd never speak to another living person again." Kyra chuckled. "I thought humans were just stories, legends made to scare children." "Well," Rian smirked, "how scary do I look?" She looked at his bruised face, scratched armor, and tired eyes. "You look like someone who refuses to die." He didn't smile, but he nodded. "That's close enough." A moment of quiet passed between them. Then Kyra asked softly, "Do you think the others will make it back?" Rian looked up at the blinking stars. "They'll come. Not all, but enough." In deep space, a massive human dreadnought drifted among forgotten wreckage. Inside, a small crew received the signal. Didn't speak. They only moved, engines lit. Weapons activated. The words on their screen read, "Earth lives." Back on Earth, Rian stood before a flag, the old flag of Earth. Faded, torn, but still held high. He raised it atop the ruins of New Berlin's tower, and across the galaxy, people watched Valari, Tresh, even species who had never seen a human before. They watched one broken man raise a flag over a broken world, and the message was clear. Humanity was not extinct. It was just waiting for the right moment to return. Asterisk, the stars above Earth pulsed with movement. One by one, strange lights appeared in the night sky, not falling stars, but returning ships, old human vessels. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, stealth frigates, ships that had not flown for centuries. They came from hidden moons, deep space vaults, abandoned colonies. The signal had reached them all, and they were answering. Kyra stood at the top of the command tower with wide eyes. They came back. Beside her, Commander Rian Voss watched, in silence. His face was calm, but his hands were clenched behind his back. "This is just the beginning," he said. "The galaxy is going to remember why they feared us." In orbit, the Tresh fleet scrambled. Scanners lit up. Warnings flashed red. Multiple Terran ships entering system. Estimated strength, high. Tactical advantage, shifting to Earthborn forces. The Tresh commander, a tall reptilian with sharp teeth, and 6 glowing eyes, hissed in disbelief. "It is not possible. They were dead." A nearby officer whispered, "Perhaps." That was the mistake. Back on the ground, Rian suited up again. His damaged armor had been repaired with parts from old bunkers. It looked rough-patched, dented but alive. Kira followed him down to the staging field outside Fort Echo. Dozens of human survivors were already arriving pilots. Engineers, soldiers, even civilians who had hidden in cryo for generations. Some were old veterans. Others were children of war, born in exile. But all carried one thing in their eyes: fire. Rian stood on a platform before them. He raised his voice. "You all heard the call. You all came back. Earth stands again, and this time we don't fight for survival." He pointed to the sky. "We fight for truth, for justice, for every name they erased, for every city they burned, for every lie they told about who we were." He looked over his shoulder at Kara. "And we fight for those brave enough to believe in us, even when the rest of the galaxy forgot." The crowd roared. The battle began minutes later. Shresh warships opened fire from orbit. Earth's returning fleet responded with fury. Space lit up with trails of plasma and torpedoes. Kyra watched from the ground as the Valkyrie 11 mech launched into the air, strapped under a human jump cruiser, then dropped mid-sky over the battlefield. Rian dove into enemy lines like a meteor smashing gunship's midder, slicing drones in half and shielding civilians with every move. He fought like a storm that had waited 300 years to break loose. Above, Major Ellen Ward commanded a stealth fleet that tore through the flanks. On the outer edge, human sleeper colonies joined the fight ships once used for mining or now loaded with railguns. Even civilian vessels formed lines firing old defense beams like teeth biting back. The Tresh command ship tried to retreat. Too late. The human dreadnought Exodus Prime jumped directly into its path, and in a voice heard across the stars, its captain simply said, "This is for Earth." A final beam of pure energy cut through the enemy, flagship ripping it apart. The Tresh fleet scattered. Some escaped. Most were destroyed. The sky above, Earth cleared for the first time in centuries. On the surface, smoke faded. The ruins quieted. Kyra stood among the survivors, tears in her eyes. She looked up and saw Rian walking through the dust. His armor cracked, his face tired, but his head held high. Children ran toward him, cheering. Others simply saluted. She approached him, whispering, "You did it?" Rian looked at her, a small smile forming. "No," he said. "We did." Weeks later, Earth's flag was raised in the Galactic Assembly, not as a relic, not as a warning, but as a reminder that even when forgotten, even when erased, humanity remembers. They rebuild, they return, and when they rise together. Asterisk.